And good morning. I'm John, and I'm very excited to be able to bring you today's adventure. This is something special I've been looking forward to, and we're going to be meeting Jenny and see Jenny's treehouse. And she lives in a treehouse, and she's going to tell us all about the treehouse. And we're going to be able to let Jenny. We're going to turn this thing over to Jenny. It's her treehouse, and we're going to let her do it. And so we're going to get on over there. Let's get it done. Get on the road, and I can't wait to get there and let Jenny have it. Now, this is Jenny's treehouse that you're looking at, and there's a tent over there where she also stays in the tent some, but she's going to tell us all about that. Here comes Jenny right now.
Hello, John.
Hey, Jenny.
How are you?
Hey, Jenny, I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here, John.
Well, we've been wanting to do this ever since I heard about it, and I've never been to a tree house. Hey, Superman, is that Superman?
Superman.
Okay. Well, let's go on over here, and you can show us what you'd like to show us, and then I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Superman's coming out. Hey, Superman, let me pet Superman. That's okay, Superman. I'll let you smell of me a little bit. Yeah, I know.
He knows
There
the
you go.
person when he sees them.
What kind of dog is Superman?
He's a feist.
A feist?
A feist.
He's really getting friendly now.
Oh, Superman.
Uh-oh, there you go. Oh, I dropped my book. I'll get it. Hey, Superman. Sorry,
So
guys.
would you
Superman greeted me too.
All right. So,
All right. He can't get enough.
Come on, Superman. Here's the
All right.
tree house, officially known as the dog house.
Oh, okay.
Superman has his own ramp.
Okay,
Dog
Jenny.
house. This is my deck here. It's a freestanding deck and what I call the garden shed. And it's also my outdoor shower. Superman.
Okay, Superman. He's sticking with us.
Yeah. Oh, come on, this way.
All right.
Before we go up in the house, I'll just show you my garden area. I have raised beds.
Okay. Wow,
So
that's...
this area here will flood during a big hurricane, a big hurricane.
Uh-huh.
The water here can get up to maybe 4 or 5 feet, I've heard. So that's why the house is up 8 feet. That's also why I decided to make raised beds so that my gardens wouldn't get washed out.
Okay, tell us about this garden here.
So I made these raised beds with a friend just from a YouTube instruction video, and use the barrels. They used to have like concentrated Dr. Pepper syrup in them, and we just constructed them, and I filled them with organic compost, and I also add worm compost from my own worm composters. I have worm composters underneath my house.
Now, what are these plants that you were telling me about? What are they really? What do they do?
So this is asparagus.
Asparagus?
Right here. That's asparagus. This is peas. These
Uh-huh.
are pea plants. And the thing about a lot of our garden vegetables is that you can eat a lot more of the plant than the one thing that you wait for. So I've been nibbling off of the pea plant. Like, you can just take the leaves and eat like lettuce.
Oh, wow.
They're sweet and yummy.
You eat it right off the plant.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can also eat the flowers. They're sweet and yummy as well. And I've been really enjoying like these new shoots. Like the pea plant will have new shoots, and they'll keep generating new shoots. But these new shoots are just like really delectable. So
What does that taste like?
You can try it.
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna try a little bit of this. Now, what is this called?
It's a pea plant. It's a pea. It's a pea shoot.
Well, not bad.
Yeah.
Tastes like peas.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
Wow.
it's a way to get, receive more from the plants than just waiting for the peas in the pod. There's so much more that's edible. This here is plantain. You can eat this. It's not primarily for eating, but if you have any kind of stomach distress or digestive distress, it's good for soothing a digestive tract. But it's most well known for bee stings and ant stings. You just chew up some of it and put it on top of the sting, and within a couple minutes it'll draw the poison out
Wow.
of a bee sting.
So it's it's like a medicine, a herbal medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really useful, beneficial plant. And then I have over here, I don't garden in rows. I have what most people consider a weed. This is lamb's quarters. It's also called mountain spinach. And I also just eat this too as a green. It's easy to grow. It's drought resistant. It's high in minerals.
Well, that is really cool. Just come out here and eat. Thank you for showing us the garden. And so we look over here about your treehouse. Okay.
So this here, I call it the barn door. It's what allows me to get big things in and out of the house. So I open it up. On the inside, I have it paneled over for most of the time, but if I need to get something in or out, then I take the paneling down, open up the door, get something in or out, and then I close it all back up.
Now, you said this sits 8 feet.
It's 8 feet up.
8 feet off.
And the structure is just under 12 foot by 12 foot on the exterior.
Oh, okay. Oh, you got a little, what is that, a window with air conditioning?
Yes.
That's cool.
So we need to pause because I need to use the latrine.
Okay. Okay, this is Jenny's well. And you can see the pipe goes right down into the ground until it hits water, and it's got a pump up here. You can manually pump the water out. There it comes. That water looks good. That's the well that she uses. Hi, Jenny.
Hey, John. I just got us some water from outside, and I picked some mint from my garden boxes. I have chocolate mint, spearmint, and apple mint.
Oh,
I'm gonna
cool.
make us some fresh mint tea.
Oh, okay. Jenny's gonna make us some mint tea right out of her garden.
All right. So, I like using mason jars.
Okay. Do you make this a lot?
This is actually a first.
Oh,
This is
okay.
a first. Usually, actually, I make mint lemonade. So last summer, I made a lot of mint lemonade
Okay.
as a real nice cooling drink in the summer. So this is the first mixed mint tea that I'm making, and I'm making it in honor of your visit and your video.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And so, John, you're welcome to ask me any questions that you have or any questions you think your subscribers might have about living in a treehouse in eastern North Carolina.
Well, first of all, tell us what all kinds of mint are you putting in there?
So there's chocolate mint. Doesn't really have anything to do with the chocolate plant, but it's a mint that kind of smells a little like chocolate. And then there's my favorite mint, which is apple mint, and it's a kind of a fuzzy plant, and it has a slight scent of like apples to it.
Okay.
And then I think there was some spearmint in there.
Okay. So let's talk about the treehouse a little bit.
Yeah.
Why did you pick North Carolina, and how did you pick North Carolina?
So I was coming from Pennsylvania, and one of the considerations I had was climate. I was thinking about a climate that was more mild in the winter. And to be honest, in retrospect, it's actually easier for this kind of lifestyle to have a summer that's more mild than a winter that's more mild. I find it's easier to adapt to a winter than it is to adapt to a summer, like to a hot summer. But that's one of the things I had in mind was the climate. And so, you know, to be honest, what I did is I looked on Zillow for a piece of property in North Carolina that was under $10,000 and had no zoning and no restrictions so that I could build a tiny house, because there are a lot of places where tiny houses aren't allowed. So it's really important to be able to find a place where the zoning and restrictions will not get in the way of having a tiny house. And so I looked around and I found this piece of property online, and the property itself has deeded access to the water. So I don't live on the Pamlico River, but just I can see the water from my property, and in just a quick walk down the street with my dog, and we're down at the beautiful, beautiful, broad Pamlico River. So that was a big consideration for me, and one of the deciding factors on this particular piece of property.
Okay, how long have you lived here now?
So I bought the property in July of 2020, and I cleared the property by hand. The day after I closed on the property, the day that I closed on the property, I went to the hardware store and I got some basic tools so that I could clear the brush. It was a wooded lot that had not been groomed at all. And so the very next day, July 16th, 2020, I got out my clippers and my trimmers and I started working away at the property. And meanwhile, I was talking with a tiny home builder about my ideas, and I was also speaking with the county about the things that I could and I could not do with the property. And so then we started construction of the deck in, I believe, August of 2020. We got the deck put up. We got the fence put up. Started the house in late September, maybe late September, early October, something like that. And, you know, we were kind of working between rainstorms and things like that. But the basic structure of the house was completed in late October 2020. And so at that time I had moved onto the property. Up until then I had been camping at the local state park, Goose Creek State Park. My dog and I camping out of my Prius and a tent, and coming to the property and working on it during the day. And then I rented a space from a neighbor, the sort of my neighbor's man cave, and rented a space there for the month of September to transition and out of the tent and into a home. And so then in October of 2020, Superman and I moved onto the property. Our water's ready. And so I had my tent set up on the deck, and I had a bigger tent, which I think you saw in the video, what I call my garden shed. I had that set up, and so I basically lived off the tent. I had a plastic table set up, an outdoor table set up with my Coleman stove and my water and a way to do dishes. And so I kind of lived off my deck, and it was kind of fun. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. I would make my meals, I'd do my dishes, and my neighbors would drive past and I'd wave and they'd wave, and everybody had a big smile, and really, really enjoyed that. And so then I was here during that time, and then winter came and the inside of the house was not finished. I had to finish the inside of the house myself. I had to put in insulation and paneling to finish it. So over the winter I stayed with friends in another part of North Carolina, and I would come back to the house to put in the insulation and the paneling to finish it so it would be more livable. So I didn't actually move into the treehouse until March 2021.
Okay.
So I did that. And so this past March, like around mid-March 2022 of this year, I spent a whole year in the treehouse on this little half-acre property, little paradise right here in eastern North Carolina. with my well point. So I pump my water and I carry it in buckets. I purify it and I use that water for my dishes, for hand washing, for bathing. I have an additional extra step of purification for my drinking water. Um, and we would just live. I have inside my house, I have a little toaster oven stove that I use to bake anything I need to bake. I bake in there. And I have a two-top burner that I would use to cook things on there. And just some other basic appliances, hot air popcorn popper, which is awesome. I love my Instapot. Instapot is really great for tiny house living where there's not a lot of space because you can do so much with it. So about once a week, I'll make myself a bean stew with sweet potatoes or carrots and onions and celery, and I'll pack the stew up in mason jars, and I'll eat some of it. I'll put some of it in the fridge, and I put some of it in my little freezer. You can see that I have just a very tiny refrigerator in here, and I can pack a lot in that refrigerator. I can get a lot in there, which is fun. It's a game to be able to get everything I need. I don't have anything more than I need. I always have just what I need.
Okay. Now I want to ask you something. How does the weather affect? Have you been affected by the weather, particularly the wind?
The wind. So the builder of my house is from this area, and he, in his earlier days, he would build docks and other things. So he's very conscious of hurricane weather. So the treehouse was built in a pretty bomber way. It's built up on an 8-foot platform with, oh gosh, I don't know, 8x8 pressure treated posts. And so I don't really feel the wind. It's not like when it's windy here, the house is rocking around at all. Not at all. It is solidly anchored into the ground. So I might hear the wind, but I also might just have music on, writing poetry and not even notice that there's a storm going on.
Okay. I'd like to show everybody the view. Now, if you're talking about a house with a view, look at this. This is the view from Jenny's treehouse, and you can see the trees. We are really in a tree now.
Yep, and the birds. There's a little bird out there, and I get to see the birds and the squirrels. There's a tree behind you, out this window behind you. Sometimes a squirrel will come up and sit right on the branch of the tree and look inside the house and watch me. So we get to watch each other. I'm watching nature outside, and he's watching nature inside.
Oh, and I just seen a woodpecker light over there on that tree.
Yep.
So you are really close to nature.
Really close to nature.
And that is wonderful.
Yep.
And so you told me that you're very much into healthy lifestyle and healthy eating.
Yes.
So you have your own garden?
Yes. Yep. I have my own garden. It's organic, no chemical inputs. I compost. I do worm composting not only for my kitchen scraps, but also my human solid waste. I do worm composting, and it's a beautiful system. It worked far better than I could have even ever imagined. Even though I was a professional worm composter in Colorado, doing a worm composting toilet is not something that I had ventured into out there. So it was an experiment. I didn't know how it would go, but it went far better than I could have ever imagined. I was so pleased. And I get the best, most beautiful, rich, and sweet smelling humus laden worm compost out of that composter. I have big boxes of it right now, just curing, continuing the process, and it just comes out pure and beautiful. And so, I would use that around the property on my ground crops. So there are some crops that I grow in the raised beds that we looked at, and there are some crops that I just grow straight out of the ground. And last year, so it was my first year doing any gardening here, and one of the ground crops was butternut squash. And that butternut squash, just one plant, gave me so many squashes, I just couldn't even believe it. And so I'll use the compost from uh, my worm composting toilet composter after it's been through the composter for about 6 months and then aged for another 9 to 12 months, at which point, because it's been through the gut of the worm so many times, it comes out 99.999% pathogen free. And I feel more than comfortable using it in my gardens as a base sort of underneath. It's not something, I wouldn't make a compost tea out of it just for safety, just basically wisdom. But I am comfortable working it into the soil and having my ground crops grow from that. So looking forward to a bumper crop of squash this year. Not only butternut squash, but kabocha squash I planted right in the ground.
Tell us about, we're going to take a look around and tell us about this. This is your loft.
Yeah, so up in my loft, it's pretty simple. I have kind of what would be my office on the side here, my printer, and some storage. Sort of up in the loft is where I would meditate. That's like my meditation nest up there. And then on the right side of my loft, I have what I guess I could call my mini library. The few books that I own, I have up there. Yeah, so it's a sweet space up there. One of the things that people are often surprised about is that I don't actually sleep in the treehouse. I sleep in a tent because I love being outside, and my tent has been my happy place for a long time. I love the sound of the wind in the trees. I love, especially in the summer, the sound of the tree frogs singing about the coming rain or singing as it's raining. I love being in my tent when it's raining or snowing. It's something a lot of people really find it hard to understand who have never experienced that for themselves. And, you know, I definitely wasn't always so bold in my comfort level being in a tent. But over the years and with different experiences, I just came to love it so much that I sleep better outside, and I just prefer it. So my inside is mostly for cooking and for Superman to have air conditioning and heat and comfort, which I enjoy too. But I like to make sure that he's comfortable. And I also have my writing desk where I wrote and published a book of poetry.
Tell us about your book.
So my book came as kind of a surprise to me. Last summer, 2021, I decided to embark on a project that had been calling to me for a couple years, and that was to gather up all my poetry from the time I was 14 back in 1990 all the way to the present. And I simply wanted to create a binder for my poetry so I didn't have loose pieces of paper and post-it notes to take to poetry open mic nights to share my poetry. So I started on that, and then I hurt my back, and my focus became healing my back. And so working on this poetry project was a great way to do that. So I wasn't doing a lot of heavy lifting and working outside. And very quickly it became clear to me that what was just going to be a poetry binder to take with me to a bookstore to do a poetry reading was going to be a book. And at the same time, I had a lot of new poems coming through. I would go and do my shamanic meditation down by the river, get grounded, get connected, and I would just have these amazing poems come through, mostly of July 2021. So the book of poetry that I published is called Private Parts, An Intimate Look at the Girl Next Door. And the title of the book comes from one of the poems. Would you like to hear the poem?
Of course.
Okay, so let me make sure I get this right. It goes, they say, nobody wants to see your private parts, but I do. I want to see your private parts. You know, those deep, dark, most intimate places of the psyche. Show them in public, people scatter. Show them to me, and I will smile, recognizing private parts of my deepest self in you. Come, let's soul streak together.
Beautiful.
So that's the poem that became the title of the book. And the book actually contains pretty much just poems that came through last July.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the poems are all gathered. So I do have my poetry binder and a full collection of poetry. It's over 30 years of poetry that I do hope to publish the whole thing, because there's some really beautiful work in there. But we'll get to that later. So I did that here in the treehouse. It's kind of like my poet shaman treehouse refuge.
Where can my viewers find your book at?
So the best place to find my book is on bookbaby.com. That's the self-publisher that I use. So if you go to bookbaby.com, you can find it there. However, you can also find it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and some of those other retailers. It's just that with BookBaby, the author gets a lot more of the royalties for the book, whereas with the other retailers, those retailers get a much bigger chunk of the financial benefit of the book. So, but the poetry wants to be read, the poetry wants to be known and shared and enjoyed. And so now it's out there. Yep.
Okay, you also have started another business.
Yes, I have. So I have a healing arts practice. I have been in shamanic training and apprenticeship since 2012. It's been quite a journey, quite an adventure. It's taken me all over the country. It took me down to Peru, where I traveled by myself for 7 months. I studied with medicine people of the mountains of Peru, the northern coastal region of Peru, and also in the jungles in the Amazon of northern Peru outside of Iquitos. And I came back from that long 7-month trip in 2016 and created my first practice up in Pennsylvania. And shortly before COVID hit, interestingly, I wrote a poem. I wrote a poem called Vaccine. And it's almost like it predicted the pandemic in a really odd sort of way. But and at that same time, I closed down that practice and I entered into another phase of self-study and apprenticeship. And so now I'm stepping out of that kind of cocoon phase of self-study and apprenticeship back into a stage of service where I'm offering back to my community. And when I say community, I don't mean just the human community. I mean the whole nature community, the trees, the earth, the plants, the animals. We're all in it together. We're all in this web of life together. We all hurt together and we all heal together. And so I'm stepping into my practice, which I'm calling Elegant Healing Solutions, because that best describes what I'm offering. Elegant. It's simple and elegant. The way we can connect with nature, the way we can connect with spirit and come into alignment with our heart, with our soul, with our dreams, and step forward into a bold and brilliant and authentic life that is unique to us, that comes through us, and through us it becomes our unique offering to the rest of creation. And so yes, I have recently opened up a dedicated healing arts space in a wellness center on Main Street in Washington. Very exciting for me. And now I'm working on cultivating relationships with the human members of my local community, but also the nature members of my community. So I do offer a fire ceremony in my community where people come, they gather, and they sow positive intentions, things that they want to call into their life. Well, not only that, things they want to release, maybe heavinesses or bad habits or limiting behaviors, we release those things into the fire of life. And then we call in things like virtues or positive behaviors, creative behaviors, so that we can step forward and create a new life for ourselves, create a life that we want to live, to create a life that we love, to create a life that serves ourselves and serves the world around us, so that we serve the web of life. So yeah, I'm embarking on that. That's very exciting. It's very exciting times right now. A lot happening.
You have a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on, and I have a lot of love and support. And it's the love and support that makes all the beauty happen.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to look around a little bit. Now, this is what I think you told me before, 12 by 12.
Yes, the exterior of the house is just under 12 feet by 12 feet. And the reason that is because according to code, building code, if a structure is 12 feet by 12 feet or less, you don't need to get a building permit to build it. So my builder and I decided that that's the way we were going to go. And so, yeah, the exterior is just under 12 by 12. So the interior, I would say, is maybe 11.5 by 11.5.
Okay.
Square.
Have you ever lived in a tree house before?
I've not lived in a tree house before, but I have lived in tiny houses before. So before here, I lived in a cabin. It was about 250 square feet. I was renting it for $300 a month. It was a quarter mile off the Appalachian Trail near Kutztown, Pennsylvania. It had electricity but no running water. So I'm used to the no running water. This has been since 2017 that I've been living without running water or indoor plumbing. So not new at this game. And prior to that, I lived in Colorado, where I bought a tiny house on a trailer from Rocky Mountain Tiny Houses. And that house, interestingly, was featured on the second episode of Tiny Houses Big Living. So if you Google Tiny Houses Big Living and get the second episode, I think it's called Derek and Mary's Tiny House, something like that. I have it on my computer. It was a pilot program at that time. You can get a sneak peek inside my my tiny house on a trailer. It was called the Boulder, and it was 144 square feet on a trailer, and it did a little bit of traveling in the Durango, Colorado area at the time. So yeah, this is my third tiny house. This is my first tree house.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you do have some background in this style of living.
Yeah, since before 2014, so over 8 years of experience in tiny living, which is really big living. Minimalist. I have a minimal amount of things, but a maximum amount of connection to life, to living.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to look at a few things in here.
Absolutely.
You can tell me what they are.
Sure.
Okay. Is this your heating system?
This is what I would call my additional heating system. So I do have electricity here. I'm not off the grid, and that's one of the things that makes this this particular treehouse, tiny house living situation feasible in this climate, because it can get pretty hot and humid here in Eastern North Carolina already. At the end of May, I've been needing to use air conditioning. So I do have electricity and an air conditioner. So this is actually what they call a solid fuel heater, and they're used primarily on marine vessels, so boats. And you can burn small pieces of like 2x4, little chunks of wood. You can burn charcoal, you can burn coal. You can't burn pellets, that doesn't work in here. So basically what this did was pulled the moisture out of the house in the winter, and it assisted the electric space heater that I had and reduced my electricity bills over the winter. So my highest electricity bill in the winter was maybe $85, and that's about the same for the summer in the heat of, in like the the heat of summer, my highest electric bill was maybe $85, $86 for the air conditioning. So I think right now I have paper in here. So I just have some paper in here, prepped for, I guess, next winter when I start my first fire. And I have this little unit on top of it that is powered by the heat. It's a really neat little unit. So as the stove heats up, the fan starts to turn and it helps to circulate the hot air in the room.
What is this on the floor here?
This is the air conditioner. So it's a dehumidifier and an air conditioner and a fan all in one. And one of the things that's really important to know about tiny houses is proper ventilation and adequate ventilation. You really need to get the humidity out of the house. It's not like a big house where the humidity will kind of distribute throughout the whole house. So having the dehumidifier and air conditioner was really important to me because you don't want mildew in your house. I also have a mini dehumidifier here, which has been really nice when I don't have my fire going. The fire is great at pulling the moisture out of the house, but in the in-between times, in between the fire and the air conditioner, this little dehumidifier has been great. And that's actually something I learned from my very first tiny house experience, was the importance of adequate ventilation and the usefulness of having some kind of dehumidifying unit. It's very important for indoor air quality and preservation of the interior of the house.
Okay, I'd like to. This is your little work area here where you.
Yeah, this is my desk. This is where the book was written. I have. Let's see. Do I have in here? Yeah, I have. So my book is an ebook. I published it as an ebook, so it's available all over the world. And so I published what I call a book card. It's just a postcard. This is what the front cover of the book would look like if it was actually published on paper. And this is pretty much what the back cover of the book would look like if it was published on paper.
Oh yeah. Now, you're known as Jenny of the Daughter of the Mountains.
Jenny, Daughter of the Mountains.
Daughter
yes.
of the Mountains. Where does that come from?
So that is a name that came to me over the course of many years. When I got back from Peru in 2016, there was a photo of me after my second initiation as a Karo medicine mesa carrier. And so I went up to this mountain with the medicine man, and we did a ceremony and an initiation. It was the second initiation, so that was probably the wisdom keeper rites. And there was a picture of me. I was so happy, and I was just standing like this with the mountain behind me with the biggest smile ever. And I showed it to a friend of mine who her family's originally from India. And they have a name over there that means daughter of the mountains. So when my friend showed the picture to her mom's like, she looks like, and then whatever that name was, which might have been Parvati, I'm not sure. And so my friend shared with me her mom's comment of, she looks like a daughter of the mountains. And there was something about that really resonated with me, and it stuck with me. So in 2020, 4 years later, I was going through this process of renaming myself, of recreating myself, which I tend to do every couple years anyway. Not the naming part, but the recreating myself. And eventually what came to me was Jenny, Daughter of the Mountains. That's who I feel like I am in the world. It's not only a name, but it's just who I am. It's who I walk as in the world. And the mountains are symbolic not only of the physical mountains, but of the high places where we go to be with spirit. It's where the air is clean. It's where there's the least amount of, there's nothing between us and the heavens. There's nothing between us and the sky. And historically, it's where the saints and sages would go to pray to spirit, to commune with spirit, where people would go on vision quests to get insight about their own soul's journey. So when when this book started to take form and become clear that it was going to be a book, I decided to officially take the name Jenny, Daughter of the Mountains.
Well, I can say from time I've known you, it fits you perfect.
Thank
you. You have the spirit of adventure and the spirit of healthy lifestyle, which I know you're into both. And I think that's a wonderful way to live. So you have some windows here. Now these will open up to let fresh air in, right?
Yeah, so I have this window will open up for fresh air. We have a kind of an unusually cool day today. And I have a window on the other side of the trap door that will open up. I have the exhaust for the air conditioning going out that right now.
Okay.
And then the window up in the loft will actually also open. And I have a makeshift screen. I took some cloth. It's called tulle. And they usually make sort of fancy dresses with tulle. But I'm using the tulle as a makeshift screen so the bugs don't come in. And it's beautiful because it doesn't block the light at all, but it very effectively screens out any little bug or mosquito.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is amazing. So I see the vegetation out here.
Yeah.
So you don't have a traditional grass yard like a lot of houses. You have a natural setting.
I have a natural setting because I don't want to mow a lawn. I don't want to spend my time mowing a lawn, doing those kind of chores that I don't need a lawn. Like I can go to the park or I can walk down to the community lot and be on the grass down there right in front of the river. I try to eliminate the unnecessary tasks that we've kind of accumulated for ourselves. Now, I have to admit, like a grassy lawn is quite nice, but it's not something I needed for me. And it's not something that Superman needed either.
And it doesn't fit a treehouse. It wouldn't look right to have a grass lawn.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't fit this property. I wanted to change this property the least amount as possible. So I didn't take down any big trees. I just cleared out space so that I could walk through. We took down maybe one small tree that was in the space of where the house is now, but that's it. I didn't want to take away from the property. I wanted to add to the property. So interestingly, one of my good friends and neighbors is walking down the street. My friend Alessia. It's really fun. I get to stand up here in my perch and people can see in the window. And so I'm going to wave to her right now. Yep, she's walking her daughter, Sophia.
There you go. There you go. Oh, yeah, she's waving.
Yeah.
Hey, that is so cool.
Yeah, so it's fun. People can see me. I'm not big on curtains, but they can see me if I'm standing right in front of the window. But otherwise, people can't see me, so it works out really well because I'm up so high. Yeah.
Okay, now I see you had some little lights up. Did you celebrate Christmas in here in the treehouse?
I did. I was here over Christmas, and my main lighting for the house is my rainbow LED Christmas lights. And I have them running along the floor. Let me turn those on now. I'll plug those in. So
there they are.
Yep, along the floor. So that would light up, those lights light up the space enough that's all I need at night to be able to see and function inside my house, and it gives me privacy. But I also have the Christmas lights around my front window here, and that would give me a little bit more light, especially if I was doing some kind of cooking here in this space. Mm-hmm. And then on my desk I have just a sort of a reading lamp if I was doing some kind of desk work or journaling.
Absolutely wonderful. I'm truly amazed. I've never seen anything like this.
It's different. It's unique.
Well, it has enriched my life to know this, and this has been an experience that I will never forget. Seeing the treehouse, seeing the property, seeing the garden, and talking with you about how you live and the lifestyle that you maintain has all been something that will be with me the rest of my life. And I made this video to show my viewers, so maybe give them something to think about, so that they would have something to carry forward with them in their life too. So I see you have the tea almost ready.
Yeah, I'm gonna pour out some of this tea so that we can enjoy some tea on this cool afternoon.
Oh, yes, that looks good.
It smells good too. Do you want to smell it?
Yes. Oh, man, it does smell good.
That smells really good.
So we're going to, Jenny and I is going to have our tea, and we're going to enjoy the treehouse for a little while. We want to thank everyone for joining with us and meeting Jenny and seeing her treehouse and the wonderful place she has here. And I'd like to thank all my new subscribers. Thank everyone for watching the videos. If you enjoy our videos, please smash that like button. And remember, you can purchase Jenny's book and read her poems and get a good understanding. Show the book. There you go, right there.
Private Parts, an intimate look at the girl next door. It's a beautiful collection of very personal expressions, very poetic and playful and potent. And you can find it at bookbaby.com.
That's right.
Yep.
Jenny, thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for visiting my house. Thank you, everybody, for visiting my treehouse. I hope you feel inspired to create your dream and to live your dream.
Absolutely. That's what matters. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next adventure.